Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story you think you know, the Tower of Babel. So what's the deal with this story from Genesis? Is it really just an old tale trying to explain why there are so many different languages, or is there something much deeper going on here? Let's peel back the layers and uncover a perspective you probably haven't heard before. You know, most of us probably heard this story as kids. It's presented like a straight-up history lesson, right? There's this long list of nations, then boom, a story about a big tower, everyone's suddenly speaking different languages, and then they all spread out. Seems pretty cut and dry. Okay, but let's pause for a second. What if the point wasn't to give a history or science lesson at all? What if the author was doing something different? Like, what if they were painting a picture with words to show us something really important about, well, us? And this is where things get really interesting. There's this scholar, Milton Spenser, who gives us a totally new way to look at it. He calls it apocalyptic. Now hold on, that doesn't mean fire and brimstone. The word apocalypse literally means an unveiling. So these aren't just stories, they're symbolic word pictures designed to reveal a huge truth. I love this quote from him. It basically says, hey, stop getting bogged down in the tiny details, trying to prove if every little thing is historically accurate. The point is to step back and look at the whole painting. The big picture, that's where the real truth is. All right, so if you're not talking about a simple fable explaining languages, then what are we talking about? What is this word picture of the Tower of Babel actually showing us? What's the big truth being unveiled? And here's the big shift. The common view, it's a story about languages. But Terry's interpretation, whoa, it's a symbolic picture of human pride running wild. It's about that defiant ambition to reach for the heavens on our own terms. Suddenly, the story isn't just about how we talk. It's about why our biggest, grandest projects tend to crash and burn. Yeah, think about it. The tower is all about humanity trying to create this one massive unified world power, but based entirely on their own schemes. It's a monument to their own greatness, built with their own hands. It's the ultimate project of pride. And this idea doesn't just pop up once and disappear. It's a recurring theme all over the place in the Bible. You see the same spirit in the book of Isaiah with this figure who says, I'm going to ascend into heaven. It's the exact same defiant pride that was mixing the mortar for the tower. So the tower isn't just one tower. It becomes a symbol for all the big empires of that time and place. Think about it. Assyria, Babylon, Persia. What did they all have in common? They all dreamed of creating one universal kingdom, a single world order built by human power. But here's where the story takes a brilliant turn. Right when humanity's big plan is falling apart, when everyone is confused and scattered, the author shows us another plan quietly starting up in the background. Just look at what the builders themselves said. Their whole goal was, let us make a name for ourselves. It's all about them. It's about building a monument to their own glory. Something that screams, look what we did. And then, literally in the very next chapter, the whole story flips. God calls this guy Abram, you know him as Abraham, and makes him a promise. And what does God say? I will make your name great. See the contrast? We go from we'll make our own name to I will make your name. The whole focus shifts from human ambition to a divine plan. So the order of these stories is absolutely key. Humanity's plan has to fail first. That failure, that whole collapse, it's not the end. It's actually the setup for God's real plan to kick off. And that plan doesn't start with a giant, impressive tower. Nope. It starts small, with just one family. And this sets up an incredible bookend later on. At Babel, you have language being used for human pride. And what happens? Division, confusion, scattering. But then, fast forward to the story of Pentecost. There, language is used to glorify God, and the result? Miraculous unity and understanding. It proves that language was never the real issue. It's all about what you're using it for.
Okay, so let's bring this home. Why does any of this matter to us right now? What's the point of looking at this ancient story as a word picture today?
All right, here are the big things to remember. First, when you read stories like this, don't just hunt for facts, look for the purpose. Second, Babel is this timeless warning against human pride, against this idea that we can build a perfect world all by ourselves. And third, it points us to the idea that real unity, the kind that lasts, might just come from somewhere beyond our own big plans. When you read it this way, the story just comes alive, doesn't it? It stops being some dusty old fable trying to explain science. Instead, it becomes this incredibly sharp picture of human nature. Our ambition, our pride, and that deep need we all have to build something that matters, something that lasts. Which leaves us with one last question to chew on. If Babel is a symbol for any project built on human pride, on the dream that we can engineer our own perfect world, well, where do you see those kinds of towers being built today? Because that spirit, the spirit of Babel, is definitely not a thing of the past.